I will say that again, traction control will not save you if the conditions are bad enough and if you have crappy tires. Oh, I didn't know there are different kinds of tires. I've got all-wheel drive. I thought I was good to go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about driving in the snow and why you shouldn't drive in the snow. Quick disclaimer, if you live in a mountain town, you live in an area up north where you get a lot of snow on a regular basis, you grew up around it, I'm not talking to you. You guys are prepared. You guys understand what to do. This is more in regards to people that live in areas that maybe get 1 or 2 snowstorms a year, like where I am in Maryland. And I know a lot of you are going to say, well, I got an SUV. I've got all-wheel drive. And that's a big part of the problem is people think that because they have an SUV or because they have all-wheel drive or because they have all-season tires, that means they can drive in ice. They're used to driving cars that have a bunch of nannies, traction control. They think that all of that's going to save them and they have nothing to worry about. When, as we know, that's not necessarily the case. If you run into a sheet of black ice on the road, especially on a hill, odds are things are not going to go in your favor. Now, the main reason I say this is because you can't trust other people on the road. There are just too many people out there that neglect to maintain their vehicles, that don't know anything about their vehicles. They don't even know that there's such a thing as summer tires or winter tires. Now, let's talk about tires for a second. Just because you have all-season tires doesn't mean that you should drive in the snow and in the ice. Now, if it's just above freezing, you're going to be okay. But the more it drops below freezing, the less those all-season tires are going to be affected, let alone summer tires. All-season tires are not necessarily safe when the temperature drops outside, when it drops well below freezing, especially if it is icy. It gets confusing, and look, I am not an expert. Now they have all-weather tire, which some of them are rated for snow and ice, so you can drive them when the temperature drops below freezing. So if you do have a car with summer tires that you plan to drive in the winter and you get more than a couple of snowstorms a year, yeah, you should be swapping them out for winter tires. The problem is people aren't doing that. People, for the most part, are not really to be trusted on the roads, and that's why when I can, I try not to ever drive in the snow unless I get stuck. That and also the salt, because the salt destroys your vehicle. Although, if it just gets exposed here and there and you rinse it off, not a big deal. Now, if you can wait a day or two until most of the salt goes away and the roads are dry, it's not going to be nearly as bad as when it's wet outside and the salt is fresh. But hey, having traction in those conditions is better than getting into a wreck, obviously. And let's talk about drivers and driving habits, because people have these newer vehicles and they think that my car can do anything. I don't have to drive like everyone else, when really they should be. When it's snowing outside, you need to be extra careful. I don't care what you're driving or what is driving you. You need to be extra careful. So do not tailgate anybody. You want to be way, way back. You want to be a good 10 car lengths, 15 car lengths away, far away from the driver in front of you. You want to creep and drive slow, well below the speed limit. And you never want to brake hard and fast. You want to ease into the brake pedal. Those brakes lock up, you're on ice, you're going to run into something. You want to allow as much space between yourself and the other drivers on the road as possible. Let the idiots fly by you. Just let them fly by you, the people that want to drive fast in the snow and in the ice. But for the most part, it's not worth it. If you're in an area, like I was saying, if you're in an area where you only get a couple of snowstorms a year, just don't drive in the snow. Call into work. You don't have to go into work. Work from home if you can. Use your sick days if you have them. Be a good employee on the regular so you can take that snow day off if you have a boss that's a pain in the ass and wants you to come in. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when people don't clear their snow off the roofs of their vehicles. They've got a foot of snow, and what does that do? That blinds the person behind them on the road. So you always want to clear the snow off your vehicle. Make sure you do that. It's respectful not only to yourself, but to the other people around you. Try not to use a broom or something because the paint, it's not good for the paint. Start the car up, let it warm up. You can use a scraper on the windows, but be careful. Use a snow blower if you can, or I should say a leaf blower is excellent to use to get the snow off of your car, as long as it's fresh. If it's frozen on overnight, the leaf blower may not work. And you're going to want to get the salt off the vehicle as soon as possible. Preferably, you've prepared your vehicle for winter and you've applied a sealant, some type of sealant or coating that's going to help repel sleet and snow and salt in the wintertime. One thing you never want to do if you have a salty vehicle when you go to wash it, you don't want to rub that into the paint. No, 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 no. What you want to do is do a pre-foam with a foam cannon. You want to pre-foam your car with a good soap, let that dwell for 10 minutes or so, and then spray it off before you even touch it with the wash mitt. That way you're not rubbing that salt into the vehicle. You definitely don't want to do that. Preferably you have access to one of those devices so you can spray your undercarriage off. I'll put a picture up. You can hook it up to your pressure washer or even your hose, and that makes it easy to clean the salt off of your undercarriage. Or go to a detailer, go to a pro, somebody that really knows how to do it. Prepare your car for winter. I mean, I get it. I know a lot of you are busy as hell. You're not really into cars maybe. You don't have time to clean or detail your car. And just send it to the professional if you can. Send it to the pro detailer. There's a lot of good detailers out there now, more so than ever. The cleaner you keep your vehicle, the better maintained you keep your vehicle, the better it's going to hold its value, even if it gets up there in miles. I can't stress that enough. And they'd sell for a lot more when it's time to let it go. Anyway, just some pet peeves. You know, there's so many guys out there that think they're invincible. I'm going to go drive in the snow and in the sleet, and you know, they think they're going to do this and that. And I just felt like ranting about this today because I know a lot of you are good drivers and can drive in the snow and are prepared. But you can have the right vehicle, you can have the right tires, you've done all your prep work, everything looks good, everything's working properly, and then some dummy runs into you because they weren't prepared or because they're driving with summer tires. And then they're just going to be clueless. Oh, I didn't know there are different kinds of tires. I've got all-wheel drive. I thought I was good to go. And that's the problem with all of this tech now, is that it masks the danger. People don't realize that there's danger out there and you have to be aware of it. So what am I forgetting, guys? Comment below. What else should you do in the wintertime? Especially those of you that live in mountain towns where you get a lot of snow. What are you guys doing that maybe some of us should be doing to our cars in the winter time? What do you do to prep your car for the winter? I like to get my oil changed, get my fluids changed around late November, early December, right before it gets cold, to get all of that out of the way. Trickle chargers, because when it gets cold, your battery can go even just after a couple of days. If you have more than one car like me, you want to have a trickle charger for the winter, because even after a few days the battery can die, and that's a pain in the butt. Also, air compressor. You want to check your tire pressure because your tire pressure is going to drop. Maybe you want to slightly overinflate your tires for the winter if you're in a climate where the tire pressure is going to drop. It's good to keep an air compressor with you in the car. Ironically, I meant to bring it today for the video, but I have a little Michelin air compressor that I really like. Plugs right into my adapter, my cigarette adapter, what we used to call them back in the day. Now it's just a 12-volt power adapter. So tires, fluids, paint protectant. There's probably an undercarriage protectant you can get as well. I'm not familiar with that, if there is one. Look, I'm a performance driver. I like to drive fast. I like to get places. I don't like slow drivers. But when it's snowy and icy outside, forget about it. Let the idiots go by if you have to drive in the snow. Let them cause an accident far away from you, hopefully. I cannot stress it enough. Just because you have a truck, just because you have a Jeep, just because you have an SUV, just because you have all-wheel drive, doesn't mean that you can drive in a snow and an ice storm. Even if you have the proper winter tires and you're a skilled driver, there's some buffoon that's going to run into you. There's an idiot out there. There's always an idiot out there, especially in the areas like where I am in Maryland, where we don't get a lot of snow. We don't get a lot of snow. Although this year we've had 3 snowstorms already. It's mid-February, so that's a lot for us. There was that traffic jam on the Beltway a few years ago. I want to say near Tyson's Corner, Virginia, and people were literally stuck overnight. Remember that? Overnight they were stuck. I mean, I would not want to have to deal with that. And I'm pretty sure it was during a mild snowstorm, but I could be wrong. This goes for heavy rain too. Heavy rain, freezing rain obviously, when it gets cold outside. You just have to be extra careful. Traction control is not going to save you if the conditions are bad enough and if your tires are crappy. I will say that again, traction control will not save you if the conditions are bad enough and if you have crappy tires. I know a guy that has a Tesla Model S Plaid, and you know, he loves it, and you know, that's his thing, that's cool or whatever. But I noticed one time that there was a big bubble in the sidewall of one of his tires. And what do you know, this high-end, sophisticated Tesla with all the fancy tech and AI did not alert him that there was a bubble in the sidewall of his tire, which, as we know, is not good. You should not be driving with a tire that has a bubble in the sidewall, especially one the size of a ping pong ball. He's a good dude, he got it fixed. He's no dummy, so he took care of it. But you still should think about your vehicle, no matter how sophisticated the technology in it is. It's great if the tech can save you. I'm not saying that all tech is bad. There's a lot of tech that is really good. And traction control has saved me before, I'm not gonna lie. I had a Supra when I was in Newport, Rhode Island, and it was pouring down rain, and the traction control kicked in a couple times and saved my butt. I was on roads I wasn't familiar with, and there's a lot of standing water. Anyway, end of rant. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time.